What excites you about becoming champion?
I excited because all my life I'm training, I spend like many days and hours, many years inside the gym, and I'm almost there, The finish is very close.
Currently ranked as the 4th best lightweight fighter in the UFC.
It's over. Beautiful job by Makhachev. Great UFC debut!
Islam Makhachev will attempt to bring the UFC gold belt back to his home country of Dagestan as he is set to main event UFC 280 against Charles Oliviera. But before we get into that fight, we wanted to take a look at Makhachev's resume and see what makes him such a dangerous contender, and whether he might rival Khabib Nurmagomedov in accomplishment. So let's count down Makhachev's impressive 10-fight win streak before he fights for the honor to be called the best lightweight on the planet. Number 10. Chris Wade. Makhachev came into this fight after suffering his very first career defeat at the hands of Adriano Martins, so there was lots of pressure on Makhachev's shoulders to right the course, especially when his close friend and training partner Khabib Nurmagomedov was making waves in the UFC. Because Makhachev was coming off of a TKO loss.
Big shot by Martins. It is all over.
We saw a more apprehensive Islam as he looked to quickly turn the contest into a wrestling match, which he did, securing an early takedown, but surprisingly Wade swept him and got on top. There we saw Makhachev's fully rounded ground game as he attempted several submissions off of his back. The next 2 rounds would be equally as chaotic and perhaps tougher than Makhachev and his team thought as Wade kept up with Islam's grappling. But ultimately, Makhachev had the better positional controls, especially in the 3rd and decisive round, for which he took home a unanimous decision victory, winning 2 out of the 3 rounds in each of the judges' scorecards. Number 9. Nick Lentz. Against Lentz, Makhachev came back to his suffocating and dominating form that he had prior to his first loss, so it seems like in the Wade fight he got all the jitters out of him. Because the Lentz fight was hardly competitive, Makhachev was successful with all 5 of his takedowns and easily controlled Lentz on the ground to a completely one-sided decision. The judges had it 30-25, 30-25, 30-27 in Makhachev's favor. So the fight might not have had any highlight reel moments, but it did establish a trend that we continue seeing to the present day, which is simply that Makhachev's grappling is on a different level. Number 8. Grayson Teixeira. Although we just finished praising Makhachev's grappling, he wouldn't need any of it against Teixeira. Grayson Teixeira is perhaps most famous for giving Khabib a competitive fight, but his performance against Makhachev would be everything but that. Makhachev caught Teixeira with an overhand left, knocking the Brazilian clean out in less than a minute into the first round.
See who has the advantage. Oh, big left hand.
Who knew the Dagestanian superstar possessed such power? This would mark Islam's first ever KO win in the UFC and show people his ever-evolving stand-up game. Number 7. Keizhawn Johnson. Keizhawn Johnson was riding a 4-fight win streak, which included a KO win over the man that had defeated Makhachev. However, if MMA fans were hoping to see a competitive fight, they would be disappointed. Makhachev pressured Johnson toward the cage and easily took him down. And with seconds, Islam passed Johnson's guard, mounting him in the traditional Dagestanian fashion. And eventually, the ground and pound was too much for Johnson and he attempted to escape poorly, only to get caught into an armbar.
Opportunity to get a sub, it's over. He'll go get it. There it is. He's got the arm.
And there's the tap.
Another big finish for Islam.
The fight ended in the very first round and it didn't even look like Makhachev broke a sweat. Number 6. Armen Sarukian. Sarukian is considered one of the youngest and brightest stars in the UFC currently, and he largely earned his hype through the competitive match that he had against Makhachev. Although Islam would win a unanimous decision victory against the rising contender, he had to earn every bit of it. Most surprisingly, Sarukian was able to keep up with Makhachev's grappling sequences, which was a treat for MMA fans all around the world as they saw 2 highly well-tuned grapplers go at it for 15 minutes. For their effort, the 2 would take home Fight of the Night bonuses, and Makhachev would inch further up the lightweight rankings. Number 5. Davi Ramos. Makhachev continued his winning momentum as he stepped up to take on the dangerous Davi Ramos at UFC 242. Ramos was riding a 4-fight win streak which included 3 finishes, and he was considered one of the best grapplers to compete in MMA at that point. Perhaps that is why Makhachev sought to keep the fight on the feet. Makhachev showed his much improved striking game, blooding Ramos up with his jabs and straight lefts and even dropped him with a knee in the clinch. Makhachev would earn a unanimous decision victory and, more importantly, show the world that he would be becoming a well-rounded mixed martial artist, which got the MMA community wondering how he'd do against the upper echelons of lightweights. Number 4. Drew Dober. Makhachev would have to wait more than a year before finally stepping back into the octagon. The reason being he had 3 fights canceled on him, 2 of them being against Rafael dos Anjos, so fans were eagerly awaiting to see what kind of Makhachev will come back, as his team was praising him to be the next lightweight champion now that his teammate Khabib had retired from the sport. And when Makhachev did return, it was hard not to see the influence of Khabib on his game, as he showed incredibly dominant top game against Dober, who was riding a 3-fight win streak with all KOs. Dober simply didn't stand a chance against Makhachev, who took him down each round and threatened him with various submissions before finally submitting him with an arm triangle choke in the 3rd round.
Shoulder pressure though. Look at Dober's face.
Islam Makhachev submits Drew Dober.
So what should have been a tough test for Islam ended up being easy work, as Makhachev walked right through him. Number 3. Thiago Moises. The dominating win over Dober would earn Makhachev his first ever main event slot, as he took on BJJ black belt Thiago Moises. But the black belt didn't intimidate Makhachev at all, as he welcomed the grappling exchanges. Makhachev would finish the 2nd round dominantly after landing several blows from the back mount position before transitioning to a full mount. 3rd round was more of the same, as Moises was visibly getting tired trying to keep Makhachev off of him. But Makhachev's pressure was breaking him down, and in the 4th round, Moises would break as Makhachev secured a rear naked choke finish. Along with that, many fans started to see why his team believed that Makhachev was destined to wear UFC gold sooner rather than later. Number 2. Dan Hooker. His win over Moises set up Makhachev for a shot at the former lightweight champ Rafael dos Anjos for the 3rd time, but like the previous 2 times, dos Anjos had to pull out of the fight with an injury. In stepped in fan favorite Dan Hooker, who took the fight on just a couple of weeks' notice. Perhaps Hooker believed in his fairy tale ending where he could win 2 fights in 2 months and catapult himself back into the lightweight title picture. However, he was fighting a Dagestanian force who had plans of his own. The fight was hardly competitive, as Makhachev wrestled Hooker to the ground and within 2.5 minutes of the 1st round secured a Kimura finish. This was eye-opening for many, as Hooker had previously given Dustin Poirier one of his toughest fights, but Makhachev just toyed with him. Now there was no denying that Makhachev was a title contender, and perhaps even without the title, he was already the best lightweight on the planet. Number 1. Bobby Green. Once again, Islam found himself in the main event role, and once again, Islam's opponent had to pull out of the fight just weeks prior to the event, causing the organization to scramble for a new opponent. Originally, Makhachev was set to face off with Beneil Dariush, who is currently ranked number 6 and is on a 7-fight win streak. However, 10 days before the fight, Dariush injured his ankle, and Bobby Green stepped up for the challenge against Makhachev. Again, this would have been a fun story, as Bobby Green had just won a fight 14 days prior, but this is real life and not fiction. Almost everyone knew Makhachev was going to win, and that if he didn't finish Bobby Green, it might look bad on him. So Makhachev did just that. He steamrolled through Green, defeating him via ground and pound in the very 1st round. After which, Makhachev called his shot and wanted to face off for the UFC title.
I just won a title fight. No more.
And there was no denying that Makhachev was next up, as he finally got what he had been chasing all of these years. A fight against the unofficial UFC Lightweight champ Charles Oliveira. If you enjoyed this video, then please give it a like, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Hit that little bell beside it so that you're notified the next time we upload a new video. And with that being said, you just watched us break down Islam Makhachev's 10-fight win streak. We'll see you next time.